Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the panel so much for being here in this important open testimony for the American people to hear directly from you. Appreciate, Mr. Ray, your candid responses to the questions. Director Haynes, you started out in your statement and you were talking about the slowing in Chinese economic growth, and you stated that China now faced some domestic economic challenges. So I'd like, what is your assessment of what those primary domestic economic challenges for the PRC are? How do you assess that slowing, that economic vulnerability in China?
Thank you, Congressman. I point to a few here. So one is, these are sort of structural issues that I think are going to be a challenge for China moving forward. One is their population, basically their aging population. So they peaked in 2021, and last year they declined by 850,000 people. It's the largest decline in over 60 years, and with a relatively low fertility rate, China's population will continue to shrink even as it ages, and this is going to reduce China's labor force and likely increase expenditures on age-related health issues as they're going forward. I think a second piece of this that is sort of looking at the domestic migrant workers' wages in China in low-skilled industries have more than doubled on average as the quantity of migrant labor from rural areas has actually declined, and this has contributed to several major domestic and foreign firms' decisions to actually relocate their firms from China to lower wage countries such as Vietnam, or to eschew expansion plans in China, leaving large numbers of China's low-skilled workers unemployed. And then furthermore, China is going to need to improve education and training, really, to better prepare its workforce. And at least 100 million low-skilled workers risk losing their jobs as a result of automation that they're pursuing. And vocational education to sort of upskilled, untrained rural labor faces really entrenched obstacles within China. So these are some of the issues that we're looking at that sort of make it a particularly challenging environment. And we think they're going to continue to sort of pursue their statist economic policies, so that state direction is a part of it, which will not be as efficient, essentially, in their moving forward.
Well, in a follow-up to that, do you assess that in their last 15 years of extraordinary space and defense technology buildup, that workforce is aging? In other words, it has a median age higher than our baby boom generation, therefore they even have vulnerability in their defense space technological base because they have an aging workforce there, or is that a younger than average workforce? What's your assessment there?
I don't know the answer to that. I'll find out.
Thank you. Director Burns, in open source information, there's a lot of conversation about how effective the crypto criminals in DPRK in North Korea are about stealing cryptocurrency from wallets around the world. And that's in turn, many times their export earnings, or what we know to be their export earnings. I think most of their earnings are stolen, so it's kind of hard to gauge what those might be. What is the United States doing to interdict and block and stop the illicit flows to North Korea through that mechanism?
Well, I appreciate very much the question, and maybe we can go into this in a little more detail in the closed session, but as we discussed when you came out to headquarters, this is a significant priority for us right now, and I know it's shared across the intelligence community because the North Korean regime does look at just what you described as a way of sustaining itself, of acquiring revenue as well. So there are a number of things that we can do working with some of our allies to counter that, but I'd prefer to talk about
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.